You know, one thing that people ask me is actually when you say that there has been no success, how do you know if a society is a success or if a society is a failure? How can people know if a country progresses in the fight with corruption? And that's very difficult to know, you know. I mean, my native country, which is Romania, has put in jail over 20 ministers over the past 5 years. So over a whole government is in jail. Bulgaria, meanwhile, hasn't put anybody in jail. But nevertheless, there is not much difference between corruption in Romania and Bulgaria. So this instrument is not really sufficient to measure corruption, the number of people that you arrest. So what I do in my work is that I really try to identify indicators before and after policy interventions in order to understand if we have an impact. So indicators who are sensitive to change. And that's less complicated than people believe, because corruption is hidden only in those 50 countries where corruption is an exception. In the 150 countries where actually corruption is systemic, corruption is not hidden at all. Such widespread corruption has outcomes, and these outcomes are visible and they can be measured. And you know, some of my measures are, for instance, I take the Natural Disaster Fund from countries. I did it in Romania, Slovakia, a couple of other countries. And after eliminating the funds, I look where this money goes. And the money tends to go to government party mayors and not to opposition mayors, for instance. And this is how you see. And there are a number of other things that you can do like this, you know. You look for the big market winners, and we live in a period of big data, for instance. And I have EU research funds, and one of the things that we do is that we manage to scrap data on public procurement from everywhere. We have a project on EU 28 plus 7 other countries, for instance. It's called DigiWhiz, Digital Whistleblower. So we put together big winners of public contracts together with other sources of public data, like for instance shares of politicians in various businesses, which in many countries now they have to declare. So they're out there, they're a digital resource. Or donations to political campaigns. This also is transparent data in a number of countries. And this is what big data does for us. I mean, I can put them together and then I run some regressions and then I can prove that, you know, the best way to succeed in business is to have ever had a politician in your board or among your shareholders or to have donated to a political campaign. And this, for instance, is true both in Hungary and in Romania, both for national funds and both for EU funds. And the reason we find this in a regression is that it's systemic. It's not an isolated thing. It's already something systematic which comes up as significant in statistics. In order to understand the few number of countries, because there are under 50 globally, countries which manage to control successfully corruption, how did they do it? So these are like the two sets of things which come out. I look what differs across countries which are well controlled versus countries which are not, and then I look what it takes to get you from that point to that other point. And in contemporary cases, I only have 7 success cases, and some of them, like South Korea or Georgia, are in danger day after day, so it's really very difficult to say that they are sustainable success cases. So in other words, it's really a very difficult endeavor. Countries which made it very, very gradually, and they were less corrupt to start with, so to put it. So, you know, it's been a fantastic thing. I traveled in all these 7 success story countries across continents, and I talked with extraordinary people who have managed to do this, not in 1-2 years. The world's shortest success story is Estonia. Estonia is the shortest successful transformation in the world. It just took them 15 years to build successful control of corruption, starting from general corruption, which was Soviet time corruption. And Georgia came close to them, but now it's unfortunately sliding back. And my other interesting success cases are Uruguay, which again is fun because Estonia is a very libertarian right-wing success story. They succeeded to do a lot because they cut basically resources for corruption by having a very small non-interventionistic government. That's what they've done in the first thing. Then they introduced merit-based competitions, and then they digitalized the whole country. They're very advanced in e-government, so they basically eliminated people. But Uruguay, which is a tiny Latin American country, has done the opposite. Uruguay is quite left-wing, has quite big public sector, a large number of people employed in publicly owned company, which you would actually say they're resources for corruption. And still they really manage. They have quite great results. And they put a lot of money into education, health, public services, and you would discover a society which, as in Estonia, which knows that they succeeded. I mean, people are proud of themselves and their achievement, and they show you how they did it.